Hi, this video is intended for postdocs and graduate students whose labs are considering adoption of an electronic lab notebook. It explains how eCAT, a simple to use but powerful ELN, helps you work more effectively through a combination of enhanced collaboration, privacy for your own work, better organization, and preparation for the next stage in your career. More about what you can do with eCAT in a second. The first point to make, however, is that eCAT can serve as a very simple note-taking device. And yes, you can cut and paste. Now let's talk about things you can do to take full advantage of eCAT. In terms of collaboration, eCAT is like a wiki on steroids. It's got intuitive sharing and permissions that let you share records with other members of the lab in whatever way you like. You can keep some records completely private, more on that in a minute, and you can share records with individuals, the entire lab, or subgroups. Sharing can be broad. For example, you might give your PI view and edit permission for a project you're working on together, or narrow. You might just give view permission to a grad student who is learning a procedure from you. Copying records is easy, and is another way of sharing information. For example, with a grad student you're working on, or with your PI. eCAT notifications are a handy communication and management feature of the system, because you can add links to any record in eCAT. So, for example, you can set up a task for someone with a link to the record to which the task relates. And you can send messages, just like emails, to individuals or groups. A notice flag appears on the Notifications tab on your dashboard when you have a new message or task. So when you remind other members of the group about deadlines, you can be sure they will have gotten the message. Some of your work involves the PI and other members of the lab, but you'll also want to keep some of your research data completely private. eCAT provides you with a private home folder to help with this. For example, this folder belongs to a user called Bob. You can also create other private folders if you wish. Perhaps you're working on an experiment that is not ready for others to review or comment on. Or perhaps you're working on a project with someone in another lab. Or perhaps you want to store a presentation or some data that's going into a presentation that you don't want others to see. That's no problem with eCAT. You simply drop any private data you want into a private folder. If you change your mind and decide you want to share a record that was set up as a private record, that's easy. Just change the permissions. Let's see what eCAT can do in comparison with wikis. Wikis don't offer any structure. You just have a page and you type text into it. eCAT lets you easily impose a structure to your data. Take the experiment template as an example. You have a set of fields: method, objective, procedure, results, etc. What benefit does that give? Well, it lets users have more specific places to put their research data. When everyone is working in a structured way, benefits result. With a single field approach of wikis, you would need to read the entire experiment to find the data you're looking for. It could be anywhere in the experiment. With our template, you can be confident that the results are in the results field, etc. You can go much further than our standard experiment template, though. Let's look at this chip experiment from another customer. This is another type of experiment class, but it's highly structured with many different fields of many different types. For example, you can have a field that only accepts numerical input, or a date field that does not allow the user to enter bogus or bad dates. You can control the quality of data entered by members of the lab in a much more tailored way than with a wiki. Once your data is structured, then you also have the benefits of improved search. Sure, with a wiki you can find all pages containing a particular text in it, but with eCAT you can find all data with a certain value in a certain field. That means that you can use search to get to the exact data you want in a more targeted and efficient way. That's really useful, when you're looking for something very specific to put into a presentation, a paper, or a grant application. You can get even more value from eCAT structuring capabilities through linking between records. For example, if a set of experiments use antibodies that were also in eCAT, the experiments could refer to the antibodies in which they were used, and it would then be possible to find the antibodies used by an experiment when viewing the experiment without any duplication of data. In the visualization appearing on the screen, you can see how one group of labs using eCAT has used this to build an entire interlinking database of interlocking records. That's become an incredibly valuable tool, which helps them to conceptualize their research and organize their research data. Last but not least, you can import just about anything into eCAT: documents, spreadsheets, and images, or you can attach them to eCAT records. So eCAT becomes the single repository, an integrated repository for all the information relating to your research. eCAT is not only a great environment for you and your lab to work in, it also helps prepare you for the future when you have your own lab. You've got a ready repository of your own work, the stuff you've kept private, and you can export that to PDFs and take it with you when you leave. You can also make copies of records that both you and the lab need, so there's no longer an issue about who gets to keep paper records. If you're moving on to another postdoc position, working in eCAT will have given you valuable experience of collaboration with peers and the PI, and your ELN expertise will be another useful skill in your repertoire. If you're going to set up your own lab, you can get your own eCAT license, and you'll be able to set up eCAT in a way that takes advantage of all that you've already learned in using it yourself and from colleagues in the lab. There are various ways you can try eCAT out. Get your own personal account, it's free, or sign your lab up for a demo or a free trial at www.axiope.com.